Yo, has anyone else been feeling like time is simultaneously speeding up but also slowing down? We are, as of July, halfway through the year, so it's always a good time to remind yourself what are your goals and what are you actually striving for, and to do an audit of your life. Like, is this working? Is this in alignment with whatever intentions I set at the beginning of the year? Sorry if you hear me snuffling in the background. I feel like I'm getting allergies. I'm also sipping on some munya and airampo tea. Airampo is the seed from a fruit that grows on cactus here, and it's a beautiful pink color when you make it with tea. Life's been feeling kind of weird recently. I've been in more of a hermit mode. I've been spending more evenings alone, just creating or enjoying my own energy. Actually, sleeping. I've been sleeping a lot recently. And I'm wondering, is anyone else feeling that way too? So for me, whenever I sleep more, it typically means I'm going through some sort of activation and my body needs more rest because my energy is moving through something and then my body and my physical reality is catching up. So it can look like doing less at times, but it also can mean that you're up leveling. For anyone listening, if you've been resting more, allow it to be nourishing. And I hope that's how this episode feels, is like a hug. I just want to give you guys a hug. If you're listening, I genuinely appreciate you. And this is a place where I genuinely want to come and share my real truth and authenticity.
This is editing Sydney coming in and explaining something that I accidentally cut out. I have recently been feeling super heavy in my heart, and I don't know exactly why, but
I know that I'm changing. I know that I'm moving away from old habits and environments and feelings. I know that I'm shedding something, shedding an old identity perhaps. And when you go through a process of evolution and becoming more yourself, there's another part of you that has to die. And part of that heart heaviness I've been feeling feels like the grief of who I used to be. In order to evolve, you have to uphold higher standards for yourself and others so that you show up and create the life that you want to live day in and day out, and not settle for anything less. The part that hurts is the part that has to go, the part that's settled, the part that people please, the part that lived in scarcity and fear and so kept the things that felt safe. Today we're talking about how your ego sabotages us, how our egos can sabotage us by keeping us in our comfort zone. If you've ever wanted something deeply, whether it's a healthier relationship, to make more money, to start your own business, to build a different life for yourself, yet you keep finding yourself doing the exact same things and realize that you're not moving any closer to that dream, that's your ego. It can look like procrastination, like overstaying in relationships that are unhealthy, choosing to partake in the same habits that you know aren't supportive. You can undercharge in your business, not even start your business at all. Maybe you don't want to speak up. And it's just a repetitive cycle that, although feels safe, is not moving you towards your goals. That is self-sabotage. And it's not that we're doing this from a place of being lazy or somehow broken or unmotivated. It's because there is a part of us that's still trying to keep us safe. So yeah, if you want to understand a little bit more about the ego, the comfort zone trap, self-sabotage, boundaries, and why growth requires us to step into the unknown, stick around, because that's what we're diving into today. So let's be clear, the ego is not evil. The ego is not something that we need to villainize. We all have an ego. An ego is a part of us and will always be, because it's like our physical body, it's the thoughts that we have, it's here so that we can experience this human experience. Without an ego, we'd just be energy. I just heard a noise in my house and it spooked me. I feel like my cat just came inside. Speaking of ego, that's the thing that's making me question what the heck just made a noise in my house. Anyways, we keep going. If I die during this episode because someone broke in, hopefully my killer posts this. That I don't know that joke is landing for anyone. Anyways, our ego wants to keep us alive. It wants to keep us away from perceived danger. The problem is that the ego can't always distinguish between actual danger and emotional discomfort. And by emotional discomfort, I mean something new. Whether it's going out and putting yourself in a space where you could be rejected, you could be criticized for being yourself, you could start a business but end up failing or losing money, you even falling in love can feel dangerous. Your ego is not here to create fulfillment, it's safety. That's all that the ego wants. And this is why growth can feel so uncomfortable. Because in order to grow, we need to step outside of our comfort zone. And what is outside of your comfort zone? The unknown. The unknown. And even if your known reality is painful, even if staying in that job doesn't pay you enough, even if staying in an unhealthy relationship doesn't feel fulfilling anymore, it's the known. And that's comfortable. You know it's safe there. Our brains love predictability. They love outcomes that are certain. But I've found that life gets juicy, life gets fulfilling outside of that comfort zone, outside of predictability. And it's actually been more fulfilling to trust in the unknown than it has been to stay stuck in places where I wasn't growing anymore. Every meaningful transformation that I've gone through in my life has felt uncomfortable because we need to teach our nervous systems and our brains that unfamiliar doesn't equal unsafe. Self-sabotage is often self-protection. This is where imposter syndrome comes in. Imagine someone says that they want to make more money, but every opportunity that appears gets dismissed. What if I fail? What if I'm not qualified? What if people are going to judge me? What if I succeed and I can't maintain it? That can all be running subconsciously in our minds. Even if your conscious mind thinks, I am ready to be successful, the subconscious mind could say, success feels dangerous. And the subconscious mind typically wins because 95 to 97, 98% of our reality is ruled by the subconscious mind. The same thing can happen in love. When someone says that they want a healthy relationship and a healthy person shows up and is available, They're consistent, they communicate, they're emotionally available, but it feels boring. There's no spark. But why? It's because the chaos of someone who's not healthy for you feels more familiar than a healthy, secure love. And the nervous system often mistakes this familiarity, this chaos, for chemistry. This can be a tricky one to recognize within ourselves because, again, the subconscious is running the show. If you believe that you're unworthy of true deep love or healthy love, you're going to keep running back to people who mistreat you or cause chaos in your life. You have to become conscious and aware of what's actually been going on behind the scenes and bring light to the subconscious and do the work to shift it, which is a whole nother podcast episode that I will gladly do in the future. Self-sabotage shows up through your weak boundaries. What I've come to realize is that most of us were not taught boundaries as children. We didn't even know how to speak up for our needs as kids. You have to be given the language for that, and it has to be respected. I don't know about you, but I don't know about many people my age or older who have had that experience of learning boundaries as a kid and how to set boundaries. So now that we're adults, that's our job, to create, set boundaries, and uphold boundaries. A lot of times, we only discover that we have a boundary when someone crosses that boundary. And that's okay. That's how we learn. If you've ever found yourself leaving a conversation and feeling drained, you notice there's resentment when you're asked to do something, you feel disrespected, unseen, you feel like you're uncomfortable in a situation. All of those feelings are information as to what kind of boundaries you'd like. I found that part of being an adult, reparenting yourself, evolving, is learning to trust what that information is telling you and to create a boundary. There's a 3-step boundary framework that I've learned throughout this process of recognizing and creating boundaries. 3 strikes you're out method. So the first one is when you realize someone has crossed a boundary, when you realize there is a boundary that needs to be made, state it clearly. Communicate, not with aggression, not with passivity, just clearly. This can sound like, this just doesn't work for me, or I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. If it's about time, I need more notice than that, or simply, I'm not available for this. And then you move on and you give someone the opportunity to adjust, because people aren't mind readers, and sometimes they genuinely don't know what your boundaries are until you make it clear. That's my boundary. Now, if said behavior happens again, pay attention to that. And at this point, you've stated what's not okay with you. So now it's time to move differently. And when I say move differently, I mean create distance, limit the access someone has to your energy, pull back your energy, and spend less time. All of those add up to creating distance. Don't rely on your words. Don't try and argue your worth to somebody. Just pull back your energy and don't hang out with them. This isn't out of punishment to the other person. This is out of self-respect. If someone wants access to you, they have to demonstrate a willingness to respect your boundaries. You can choose to let someone back in after the second time if they've come to you and they genuinely want to change and they recognize what they need to do differently in order to respect you. But if you let someone in and your boundary is crossed a third time, believe what you've been shown. And at this point, the repeated behavior becomes information as to how that person is and what their character is like. You don't need to give them any more chances. You don't need to gather any more evidence as to who they are and what their intentions are. You don't need to explain yourself at all. You simply need to decide what you are available for, what kind of treatment you can accept, and what you can no longer accept, what you're not available for. And so the third step to this framework is simply just to leave. If they've disrespected your energy 3 times by now and they haven't made an effort to change, their words might say one thing, their actions say a different thing. And this can sound harsh, but I don't care. I respect my energy way too much to be mishandled by people. Moving on to where growth happens. So going back to the ego, it will tell you to stay where it's comfortable, where it's familiar, stay where you know the outcome. But growth asks for something different. Growth asks if you can trust yourself in the unknown. Can you trust yourself and have your own back even if someone rejects you? If something doesn't work out, if your business fails or you lose money, can you trust yourself if you have to start over? The more that you trust yourself, the less you need certainty. And here's the thing, you can't learn to trust yourself if you never take risks on yourself. You get that? You understand? The more that you go out and you do the scary thing, or you do the thing that your mind is telling you is hard or won't work out or is scary, the more that you do that, the more you build a muscle of self-trust. Can you trust yourself? Even if things fall apart, can you trust yourself to put the pieces back together or to pick yourself back up again? Only if you allow yourself to break in the first place. Only if you allow yourself to fail and then get back up and try again, because we don't quit, baby. We keep going. We keep
Hi,
going.
babes. If you're someone listening to this podcast, I have a pretty good feeling that you are on a path of self-actualization, self-growth, empowerment, and I want to invite you to check out my astrology readings. I give soul-based, real sky astrology readings that look at your evolution and where you're asked to grow in this lifetime. If you'd like to book a reading with me, my link is below, and let's get on to it.
Alone doesn't create fulfillment. Every meaningful life requires us to step outside of what is familiar. This means to speak your truth, to set your boundary, to take a risk, to have a hard conversation, to pursue the dream, the opportunity, to leave a relationship, to start over again, to leave your home country and create a new life in another place. Your comfort zone feels safe, but it's often only feeling safe because it's what's familiar. Dear friends, everything you've ever wanted exists outside of what you've already experienced. What would your life look like if you trusted yourself enough to step into the unknown, to follow that calling that you have, to pursue a dream, an idea, to face getting rejected, but telling someone how you truly feel? If you're here and you've made it to the end of this podcast, comment below letting me know your thoughts. If you've ever taken a risk and it's turned out better than your mind was telling you it was going to turn out. Our minds tend to look for the worst, right? But oftentimes I feel like things actually work out in our favor when we take a leap and we're bold. Yeah, until next time, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, take care. Mwah.